Welcome to ViewPoints, an SDSU podcast where we speak with faculty experts about hot topics in the news. I'm Lorena Nava-Ruggiero, and today I'll be speaking with Dennis Green, former NFL head coach of the Minnesota Vikings and Arizona Cardinals. Welcome, Dennis.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thank you very much. You are teaching a class in our sports MBA program this semester, and can you talk a little bit about your class? I know that you mentioned it's out-of-the-box thinking, which is a common term, but explain what you're doing in your class.
Well, it's called Sports Business Strategies for Thinking Outside the Box, and I think throughout my career as coach, I was a head coach at Northwestern University and Stanford University, and then also in the National Football League, and many times you have to be willing to kind of go beyond conventional wisdom, and that's what we've tried to challenge the students to do. We have 41 students in the class, and we have various projects that we've done to help challenge them to think outside the box in their strategy thought process.
What are some of the projects that you've been looking at this semester so far?
Right. What first things we did really was look at all the different jobs, you know, and we talked about all the jobs besides football, basketball, baseball, golf, tennis, the ones that everyone knows about. But coming out of an Olympic year, there are so many sports that just have Olympic support, and how do we identify those sports? So that really became part of it, and we basically took 41 sports, most of them were unusual sports, and we did a project on them. What it enabled the students to do is to gain knowledge and then to share knowledge in their oral presentation on these other sports that have funding. One way or another, they are funded. They are funded either by taxpayers, they're funding through gate receipts, they're funding through television, and one way or another, they're funding, and how do those jobs stack up and what do those jobs entail?
Very interesting. Now, I know you mentioned that their final project is looking at the Qualcomm Stadium issue, or the stadium issue for both the Chargers and SDSU's Aztecs. What are some of the things that your students have been exploring for this project?
Well, what we started out by doing is taking what we called 6 scenarios. And those 6 scenarios, we drafted them. In other words, name in a hat, and then it's like, okay, for renovation of Qualcomm Stadium, you know, you pick, and so you could wind up with anything. The idea is that you would have to take a position and to work strongly to prove a position or something you might not believe as much in initially. But as you learn more about it, you would maybe become more inclined to agree with it. So it was a new Qualcomm Stadium where the site is now, a renovated Qualcomm where the site is right now, Chula Vista, moving to Los Angeles, which is very controversial, which is something we would never want to do, and then also maintain the status quo. I made a presentation with the Chargers way back in 2002. That's 6 years ago. Nothing has happened even since then. So maintaining the status quo was a group that, even though they didn't like it, but had to say, hey, this could happen. 6 years from now, we could be exactly where we're at right now. From those 6 scenarios, we've leapfrogged now into selecting which one you want to have. And so now, if you had your choice, which one of these projects do you really believe in? Do you really believe in a new stadium on the Qualcomm Stadium site? Do you really believe in renovation? You know what I mean? And so now that's where we're moving to the final project, and we have 3 more classes as of today.
Well, I was going to say, do the Chargers or the NFL or SDSU, are they going to hear any of these recommendations that your students are coming up with? Because, like you said, it's been 6 years since, you know, the last time it's been a long-standing issue. Right. So any new ideas might be welcome at this point.
Yeah, we're going to make presentations. So we're going to invite various what we call stakeholders, people who have the most at stake on what happens to the San Diego Chargers, and they're going to be invited to a class, and we're going to make a presentation. And also, there's an issue of San Diego State University, because as we know, the Chargers, as of January 1st, 2009, can actually contractually leave Qualcomm. They say they won't do that. They say they're pursuing all their interests here, but San Diego State has to be on the ready on what are our interests, what is in our best interest, what is best for our campus. And one of the things that's taking place now is understanding that, you know, you can't just ride with the National Football League, that you have to be able to stand up on your own 2 feet. So I'm not going to talk about that one yet because we're a little early, but there will be a very extensive pursuit of what is best for San Diego State. And the group that volunteered for that assignment are extremely excited about it.
I can imagine. It's an exciting time, I think, for San Diego sports. And, you know, as far as this class goes, I mean, sports management as a degree program is somewhat new. I mean, it's not something you see at a lot of different places. Do you think that having this as a sports MBA program is changing sports management in the field itself, in the profession?
I think it is, because in the past, people thought of management as rising through the ranks. You know, you were a coach, and then when you're no longer coaching, you became a manager, or you're a coach, and then you became an assistant athletic director, and then you became an athletic athletic director or you were a coach and became a coach in the Olympics. So there are very few trained professionals in management. I think what they're starting to see now with the NBA, if we can have interest in sports and sports management, that we can train individuals to learn a lot about it. So as a result, they have some versatile instructors. I'm an instructor who's been a coach in my career, but I've also blended coaching and managing. I've been a vice president of football operations. I've had general manager duties. And then they've had some other instructors, too, that are working for either the Padres or somewhere else. So bringing that hands-on experience to help the students understand that these are the type of situations that the jobs entail.
Yeah, and that's exciting for students to have that kind of hands-on professionals, people that have been in the trenches. Now, what kind of backgrounds do your students have, for example?
Well, they're varied. I would say most of the students appear to be between 25 and 35. Mm-hmm. Everyone has had a full-time job at one time or another. And so I think that, and then every one of them have chosen to leave that full-time job and seek an MBA, and then with that MBA into sports. I don't know if any of them necessarily played college sports or anything. I think that the interest in sports is because, we're a sports-dominated society. Now, that sports includes, it would be, whether it be sponsorship, advertising, management, naming rights, marketing. I mean, there is such a vast amount of opportunities. Particularly, we see that now coming out, as I said, an Olympic year. And so the students really are now, they've helped themselves by choosing which areas they have an interest. One of the projects we're working on right now, too, was, again, randomly, I selected 41 questions. And in those 41 questions, you get to pick one, and then what I call sharing the knowledge again. So the question might be, are the Olympics worth the billions of dollars that they cost? Something very simplistic, you know what I mean? Should the university's general funds be used to support athletics? Should we pay college football players and college basketball players that are on the Division I level? Can a player who plays college sports have a paid agent at the exact same time? I mean, those are some of the issues that have come up when people have agents out of high school. Tennis players quit school at 14 and played I mean, so the sports is an allure. And so, that question, some people say yes, most say no on paying athletes in college. But should we? So that we're able to answer those questions. And the luck of the draws, if you're lucky, you got maybe an easy question. But if you weren't real lucky, you got a tough one. The questions would be, if you had in 60 days after getting your MBA, you did not have a job, would you take the first offer you had, which you've been stalling them on all this time because you didn't want the job? Do you take the job finally and look for a better job, or do you keep seeking another job and say, I don't want to work that job? You know what I mean? Those are the type of questions that they answer that the other 40 students are saying, oh man, that's a good question because I could find myself in that situation.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's a lot of creative thinking involved in that. It applies to a lot of different areas of management. As far as your course goes, I mean, are you planning on teaching this again? Do you like the experience here at SDSU? What do you think?
Yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, the students, of course, they go from January to January. So, they go year-round, and then they finish in January, and then they do their internship. So it's basically a 15-month class. So a whole new group comes in January while the students now go into their internship. So we'll see. I mean, I think that Scott Mento's in charge of the program. Scott is a graduate of the sports management MBA program himself, so he's the ideal guy, I think, to be involved in the continuation and being in charge of the program. And so we haven't really discussed it. We have 3 more classes after the day, and we've got this big assignment coming, and it's going to be huge. And so part of it also is not only just the assignment, but who can we get to make sure that they're going to be there to hear it and the presentation. So, like always in presentations, it's going to be pretty big.
Yes. Is there anything else that you would like to let folks know about your class or your your sports management career even? Yeah, you know what? I think it's exciting. I have, if they want to know kind of where I'm coming from, they can go to dennisgreen.com and so in there it talks about my consulting, marketing, and so forth, and also Greenlight Sports Marketing, which is a company I started a year ago. .com. You can go to either one of those two
do. And a lot of what we're teaching in class, we have also produced in Greenlight Sports Marketing. So it becomes a lot of the background information for a lot of the work that we do. The students do their own research, but they can use that as an outline sometimes.
Thanks so much for your time, Dennis. I do appreciate it, and good luck with the rest of the course. I will be checking in with you on those student projects.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And thank you for joining us for another episode of ViewPoints. I'm Lorena Navarro-Ruggiero. Bye-bye.